welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today for the session on STEM Community Lunchtime Conversations. My name is Jeremy Babender, and hosting with me is Beth Nickel from Arizona Science Center. The topic for today's discussion is virtual field trips, how to create, and resources available.
We have a few special guests with us today to tell us about how they have created virtual field trips and leveraged the tool to continue to engage audiences and broaden their reach. But before I introduce our guest today, I want to share how excited Arizona Science Center is about the virtual experiences and field trip opportunities that are available for students and families alike. You know, not a lot of positive things have come out of the current pandemic, but one positive outcome for us as Arizona Science Center, like many others, chose to quickly pivot to online platforms to continue to engage with our community. Creating a virtual presence had been a goal of the organization for several years, but COVID-19 gave us the opportunity to jump in with both feet. A platform that has worked really well for us early on and still is today is Facebook Live. Since March, we have engaged families and communities as a whole with sharing our daily Facebook Live demonstrations and science experiments. Our STEM-focused Early Learner Live, highlighting literature and STEM connections. We've also had a Facebook Live parent resource that we were using to provide parents with ideas, tips, and tricks to engage their kids in STEM learning at home over the summer. And recently, we broadened our digital channel to include instructor-led virtual STEM clubs, camps, and most recently, our standards-aligned K-6 STEM learning courses as part of our new online learning platform, Connect, at Arizona Science Center. Well, enough about us. I'm very excited to hear from our presenters today. So let me go ahead and introduce our featured speakers. We have Janet Castanero, who is Zoo to You Outreach Supervisor from ACNC Phoenix Zoo. Dr. Dave Bowman, Provost from University of Advancing Technology. Olivia Bogues, with Conservation Educator from the Phoenix Herpetological Sanctuary. So thank you all for being on the call today to share your expertise with the group.
So now we would like to welcome our first presenter. So please take it away, Janet, from the Phoenix Zoo. We're really excited to hear what you've been up to.
Hello everyone, my name is Janet. I'm from the Phoenix Zoo. I'm the Zoo to You Outreach Supervisor. So just like the Science Center and a lot of you out there, we had previously been doing a lot of work with our distance learning programs over the years. And once COVID hit, we really started to focus on some of our virtual offerings. If you could advance the next slide. So when it comes to what makes a good virtual program, some of the things that we came down to were basically these 4 different categories. The creation, the technology, the facilitation, and the engagement of everyone. So these are 4 different areas that are super important to really think through and hit in all of your programs, whether they're tours or educational based programs and things like that. Go ahead and advance, please. So I'm just going to go through each one really quickly. So the creation, think through everything is my biggest advice. This includes the number 1 of how will you as an organization stand out from other virtual offerings? This was something that we at the Phoenix Zoo thought really hard about. Having animals and having a sense of place is really great, and it does help us stand out, but what makes you different from a YouTube video or something like that? Like why are people going to come to you? So of course you're going to think through a lot of other things, including additional assets that you have, all assets, things that you can use that you have right on hand, as well as things that you can easily get. One of the things that we really kind of went through at the Phoenix Zoo is canned versus live video. So canned meaning pre-recorded video. You can working with animals, it's not always predictable what they're going to do. So canned video really helped us out in that aspect. Although live video, live feed is what people tend to come for. So all of our programs that we have developed and created have a varying scale across the board. So some are completely canned and some are completely live and some meet in the middle. So we tried to diversify our programs to meet the audience where they're at. Go ahead and advance. So technology, there were a lot of lessons learned on this slide. So one of the things, you know, the Phoenix Zoo, we have an awesome place to be. It's 125 acres, which is great. But it also provides a lot of challenges as far as connectivity, being out in the heat with devices, things like that. A lot of environmental factors that you wouldn't necessarily think about, both indoors and outdoors, can make or break your program, you know? So you also want to become familiar with using a lot of virtual platforms. We at the Phoenix Zoo, we work with a lot of different schools and organizations. So we are meeting them on the platform that they are using. So we had to become really familiar really quickly with Teams and Zoom and Google Meets and Facebook Live and all of these things, and be able to make sure that our programs translate across those. So it's really important to make sure that you become familiar with those. And have a backup plan. Be honest about your technical difficulties. We've found that a lot of participants are being very appreciative and patient when you say, I'm having a difficult time right now. Let me get back to where we are. And so, yes, lots of lessons learned on this slide. Go ahead and forward. Facilitation is also a big one. So you want to make sure that your audience can see you, hear you. They can see whatever you're looking at, whatever you want them to focus on, whatever you want to hear. Your hooks and handles, you should be super animated. Not your daily body language does not always translate over a virtual platform. So you want to amplify those. And then I'll say something about Blue's Clues and then we can advance. Sometimes you have to roll with the punches. If your sound goes out, what are you gonna do? If your picture goes out, what are you gonna do? If you might have to do things Blue's Clues style, we call it. Go ahead and advance. Engagement. So how are you going to engage the audience and make them feel a part of the program and not a passive observer? So we do this through games. We try to be guided by audience interests. And we do all these things, even just a simple thumbs up or thumbs down can help make them feel more a part of what you're doing. And then last but not least, if you could forward. Have fun. So you want to have fun in everything that you do. Your excitement and passion for what you're doing and talking about is going to translate over if you're excited about it. So that is what we're doing here at the Phoenix Zoo. My last slide is just a really quick list of the programs that we currently are offering or will be coming soon. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for giving that overview. I mean, it was really you were able to pull in a lot of best practices and information into a quick 5-minute flash talk, and it's been just amazing how much the zoo has pivoted, and just thank you for sharing some of those insights with us. Next, I'd like to bring on Dr. Dave Bowman from UAT, University of Advancing Technology, and they've been working with technology for years, and so it's really awesome every time I get to hear from Dave and his perspective and what goes on. But I think now is a real obvious special time for technology, and hearing from them is really awesome to have them here. So thank you, Dave, and take it away.
Oh, good. Jeremy, thank you very much. Just kind of following up from Jan's presentation, she made a couple of points that we found really quickly when the pandemic hit. We had to pivot, our campus tours, our classes, our community events, virtual very, very quickly. And there were some things that made it easy and some things that we had to get up to speed on fast like everybody else. One of the things that she talks about, I'm going to kind of extend on, and she talked about live versus video, and she's right. The live experience is a big deal as you're planning some kind of an event. What works in our favor, especially if your audience is younger, that generationally, if you're below 25, there's a lot more comfort in using tools. And so, for example, when we talked about moving our tours from people coming on campus to virtual tours, it became really easy for us to have students, like residents in the dorms and student, like ambassadors, do tours on campus using their cell phones. And what was great about that was they were just naturally comfortable with it. And so their live stream was really good. But there was a technology that made it better. And as a piece of advice that I'd recommend for anybody, as you're doing this, is your cell phone is great for doing a live stream, but you probably want to invest in a 3 gimbal stabilizer. And you can pick those up from companies like DJI or Hohem. I don't have one handy, so I show it to you. They just, they mount onto your phone and you carry it. And they range from $20 to maybe $90. And they just elevate the virtual stream so that when you've got somebody doing a presentation, like a zoo curator or a teacher or a student or whoever, it smooths it out. And that was a piece of tech that made it work. And what we did with our students for our tours was we still trained them, so it wasn't impromptu, but we let them be them as they did their tours and examples. And we found that in terms of the experience, we saw more people engaging in our tours because we could fit into their schedules more readily. And so that's been an easy hit for us. The other thing in technology that I would say that we found worked for us as a tip is, since we're spending a lot of time doing this, investing in, I'm going to show it to you, hopefully it doesn't blind you, small light kits, like they're LED light kits. This is by Lightcube. And they run about, I think all in this would cost me maybe $90. And it really makes a difference if you're spending an awful lot of time in front of the camera doing presentations, having a simple thing that you can move around and get the lighting right in your space. I know if you have a permanent installation, a lot of people are using them on top of their computer. I personally find this one's great because I can put it in a small bag and I can throw out my kit wherever I go. Another piece of technology we found that was really useful as we started moving virtual is on our speakers. If you're in a permanent location, having a permanent mic kit is great. But honestly, I found having a good set of AirPods elevated the quality of the sound on my microphone and my listening to a different level very inexpensively, very easily. We found quickly as we transitioned, we moved to something like this whenever we present. Between those 3 tools, it's inexpensive and it moves the quality of your stream interaction up quite a bit. And where we applied that were things like, when we have, in terms of events, we have these student events that we would typically hold on campus that are build events, and we had to move them virtually. And so one of the things that we've been working on is, how do you hold a build event with students and you're doing it all this way? And some of the techniques that we found very, very useful was that we engaged peers. We built facilitators so that, when we built a room, we'd use Teams or Zoom. And whenever we had an event like, hi, you've got 2 weeks to go ahead and build technology soup to nuts, I might go on and do a virtual presentation leading it off and giving instructions. But then as a next step, PDFs of everything I created needed to go out to all the teams. And teams are created in separate chat rooms where they could work as a group, led by somebody who had done the experience, preferably live, or had trained and we'd pre-prepped on the questions. And that way we were able to have students work through the projects. And, there are some challenges in terms of technology. You got to make sure that everybody in the audience has a technology. But what's great is that a fair bit of technology since the pandemic, and just kind of anyways, is out there for free use. And so what we found ourselves doing was pivoting a lot of our events that were aimed at students, kind of things you might see at a science center. We pre-tested it against commonly available, free to use 2-week trial kind of softwares, and then trained our facilitators on how to use it. And before the event, we would send packets out. Everybody, before you show up, make sure you download the software. Here's how you do it, and here's how you link in, and here's the steps to get going. And so kind of following up what Janet said, there's like, you do some pre-thought and some pre-prep to guide people through the steps. But because we're dealing with, in our case, a lot of individuals who are below the age 25, they're used to doing this kind of technology anyway. It's what they're doing in their free time. And an added piece that's kind of helpful that we found in doing these is we use what's called Discord server. And there's other parallels to this. If you talk to young adults, you're going to find they've got a platform that they're talking on anyway. And Discord is a popular server space that they go and they hang out with each other. And so what we did was we facilitated channels in those servers specifically for our events. And so after I would do my team or Zoom event, they would then say, hey, look, and by the way, as part of your login, here is, send us your information. We will set you up in a Discord server. Your facilitator is here, and you can go and meet and share and interact and continue on beyond that way. And those spaces are really, really very, very useful. Beyond that, I'd say there's a lot of content here, but if there's things that you ever want to reach out to me about how we do these, email the presenters, or my short version is I'm dave@uat.edu, and I'll put it in the sidebar as well. Thanks.
Well, that was really great. A lot of great things to keep in mind. I'm kind of wondering how we can get you more engaged with as we get to the Science Festival and get a lot of the students at UAT involved, almost do tech support with everybody that's going to start doing these virtual tours around that time. A lot of things I had no idea how to make it better. So thank you for speaking, Dave.
Sure.
And so next, we have Olivia Bogues from the Phoenix Herpetological Society. And there's been a lot of talk about how they've really pivoted, have some great tours. So I'm really excited to hear Olivia give us more insights of what they've been up to. So take it away, Olivia.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here. Dave and Janet, you guys had amazing presentations and going over, the issues that you guys were having and some other resources. I just realized I didn't make a resource slide, so I will definitely write in some stuff in the chat at the end. Yes, so Olivia from the Phoenix Herpetological Sanctuary. So just a little intro slide. I'm their conservation educator, so it is my job to educate all the people that come to the sanctuary, wanting more information about their pets to take care of, or again, just to see these amazing animals. Green Beans, the anaconda, is the one I'm holding right there. It's like my favorite picture of me and that snake. But again, just to get people to understand more about these animals, not to be as fearful, and hopefully to coexist with them, especially our ones in the desert that more people are afraid of, nervous about. So our mission statement to promote conservation and preservation of native and non-native reptile species for education, rehabilitation, rescue, and relocation. So we have been doing our virtual field trips. Again, with COVID and everything going on, it's definitely hit us the hardest because we need people, we would like people to come visit and support us that way. So doing these virtual field trips, virtual tours, even virtual parties has really helped. I had a lot of personal friends and some of my boss's friends that their kids would be crying because their birthdays were going on during COVID and they just wanted to go again to the zoo or go do something fun for their party, and they just really weren't able to. So we could kind of set up a little camera and do like the animals were like saying happy birthday to them and kind of do fun little close-ups. So that helped in kind of doing that with the reptile field trips. We wanted to make sure we could get more animals in a shot than just 5 that we were doing for the party. It helps because we're only on about 2 acres, not 120. So we can kind of jump around to each area in about 20-ish minutes. So our field trips are an hour and a half. We just have the fee per the computer or the link that you would need. So you can have, if it's a family of 4, you just have to pay for the one computer they're using. So that really helped us when we were walking around just to see all the animals. And then we also had a hot spot that really helped with the focus and the quality of the video. I can speak words. And so that helped us making sure that we didn't cut out of our video and the audio, but it's always good to have a plan B because that still did happen sometimes. And just to, again, try to kind of laugh it off and just to make things a little bit easier. I feel like I'm just kind of talking now. So again, with the sanctuary, we will just have people come visit, and it's our job to kind of provide this information about different species. So we can engage all different ages in the visitors, doing actual classrooms and having our Boy and Girl Scout troop still. Again, doing things online and just really asking us their questions if they're doing something for a badge, and just really things because they couldn't really touch the animals and see them. A new thing we started with our field trips is having the tour an hour and a half long with our guide so they can ask questions live in the chat. Sorry, we have been using Zoom, and that's just been a little bit easier for us, but it is kind of hard when people don't have the app because then they have to get it and you have to send the link, so they need an email. So I'll type in a couple of resources too that people have told me about that said they're really good, but I personally haven't used them yet. So if you guys try them and they're not good, I'm so sorry. But Easy Talks I heard was pretty good. Google Hangout Meets, WebEx I haven't used yet, but someone I was scheduling a field trip with, they're actually doing it for 20 families, and they're scheduling a field trip themselves and wanted to provide these biofact boxes to all the families that they can kind of keep and take home and just have when they're doing the virtual program, so they can still see all the artifacts and kind of seeing and staying engaged with the video. So that really helped, especially with some kids that need to be touching and seeing, having something in their hands the whole time. Yeah, so we can accommodate the field trip to focus on whatever the group is looking for, based on different curriculum, habitats, Boy and Girl Scout workshops and things like that. Again, I'm so sorry, I feel like I'm rambling, but here are just some fun pictures and videos that we've done on the field trips. So we like to take the animals out for them, and this is kind of what we would just do, but virtual. So it's just kind of me holding the animal for everyone to see. And to, again, kind of stay engaged. We can put them down on a flat surface, watch them move, feed our tortoises. But we do try to make sure we can kind of go in and see all of the animal groups, because we want, again, to make sure we stand out from other people trying to do these virtual field trips, or to bring in that audience. And then my last page is just a couple of more fun animals that they can see on the field trip as well, if you want to go to the last slide. Thanks. Yeah, like I said, I'll put in those other platforms. The Google Hangout Meet and the WebEx are probably the best that and the most I've heard about. But Zoom's been really good, and definitely having a hotspot to, because we don't just do the field trips on our phones with the app. We have an actual little, oh gosh, what are they called? They're like the Microsoft panel. It looks like an iPad, but it is a laptop. The solar flares or something like that, I'm not sure. I can find that out and put that in the chat later. But that has helped us really to get a good quality with video and the audio as well. Oh, the Surface, Microsoft Surface, yeah. And I think that's it. So I hope I went over a couple of things, and yeah, thanks guys.
Perfect. That was great. Again, another, it's so, I like the background too, so we know you're there, and just, yeah, it adds to the ambiance, right? Kind of, especially for this one with the virtual tours. So at this time, we'd like to take a few questions from the chat. So many questions I have, but like, I kind of go back to Dave in terms of the equipment. Like, what would you say is like the single, like, you gave a few options, but you gave like the light and the camera, the audio. What would you say is the most important purchase or thing we should think about when we have the video quality for these presentations?
If I had to prioritize it, I mean, it depends on what you're doing. If you've got somebody doing a tour, and it's outside, I would really emphasize the stabilizer. It just really, if they're going to be doing a selfie and walking around, it just makes a big difference in terms of what people see to eliminate the shaking. I found that when I was doing events more like this, oddly enough, the Game Changer, was a really good non-obtrusive, audio microphone piece. Like, for example, I know I'm using the Apple AirPods. These are very small. They're very comfortable. They do sound canceling. And so like the ambient noise goes away. Although, in the case of the previous presentations, the ambient noise was awesome. So that was the best part, or not the best part, but it was a really great thing I hate to lose. But it's nice having noise canceling and having good audio that's not really in the way of what you're doing, and then it's wireless. And so I think if I had to prioritize those, and then honestly, I've recently added the light kit. And while it doesn't help you when you're moving around, it makes a big difference, because depending on where I am, the lighting is weird, and it's surprisingly nice to be able to get it so that you're not, that you look right. And so again, that's kind of how as I went through the process, that was the order that I got them. Like my students on tour, I got them the stabilizers first. And as I was in a lot of meetings, I took care of the mic next, and then I picked up the light kit recently.
Okay, well, And then we got a question from Allison from U of A about if there's any opinions on charging for events or should they be free. And so probably the zoo and the herpetological probably has dealt with that type of a balance.
Yes, so we actually offer both types. So we do offer some free programming, and we also offer programming for a variety of things. So we offer like individual families a low cost, like $10 each. You can come in and join our presentation and explore animals and things like that. But we have a lot of Facebook content that's basically free. We have educational activities on our website that are free, so you can engage on any level, and we do offer things that are up from there that involve more interactive experiences.
And then Olivia, did you want to add anything from your end?
Yes, sorry, I don't know why my mute button was not working. But yeah, we were offering both as well. We would like to have more free programs for families, but we are a smaller staff facility as well. So the free programs that we offered were Facebook Live and Instagram Live videos, which were really fun because all the people could just send questions and see all their favorites. But those were really the only ones that we could do because we couldn't have the staff members taking those on for too long. Hopefully we have some of our interns that will be coming back this semester, but everything with school has just been up in the air, because then we want to get an intern to start doing more of those live videos, which will help them train on their information. And then it's providing more of just a fun little engagement for all the students and the people that want to see them on Facebook and Instagram. But for our other virtual field trips, we do offer them to all, homeschool groups, families, actual school groups, Boy Scout, Girl Scout troops. So we can accommodate them that way, but we do have to still have them pay a fee because we're a nonprofit and we're struggling. So.
And then I think, Hope, do we have room for one more question in terms of the time?
Yeah, there's some really great questions in there. So, and I think we're good on time, so feel free.
All right, so Karen from Midwestern had a great question, just being more specific on strategies to make the visits as interactive as possible for visitors. I know some people talked about that already, but maybe some additional insights or kind of lessons you've learned.
Yeah, so some of the things that the Phoenix Zoo has implemented is basically, like I said before, amplifying your hooks and handles, really getting, we work with a lot of youth groups and younger age kids. So getting them moving is super important because they're sitting in front of a screen. And so we want them to interact in as many ways as possible. So things like, I want you to point to the nose of this animal and have them physically point, give me thumbs up or thumbs down, we're going to stretch really quickly like a giraffe or things like that. So getting people involved that way, also just getting them being sidelined by some of their interests gets them more engaged. So yes, you want to stick on curriculum and your program theme and all that, but diverting into like, show me what your pets look like at home gets them like super excited about wanting to share and being more involved in the programs.
So anybody else, anything else to add from the Phoenix Herpetological Society or UAT?
Yeah, I'll just go along with that as well, to kind of help it be more interactive because we're still kind of running into that issue as well. But providing our box of we call it the BioFact box to families so that they can actually have something else added to the program has really been helping keep them engaged. And then we do provide an option where they can pay an extra fee and keep all that stuff, or they can just send it back to us, which is good because we have plenty of snake sheds, tortoise, scale, the scoots and things like that. But yeah, and then on the other part of that question, I was looking, because someone asked, are you dealing directly with the teachers when scheduling these visits? I have all of them reaching out to me, and it's been easier through email. I've even had schools in Virginia and Kentucky, even Pennsylvania, because they just want a change of scenery. So on the East Coast, they're really looking for, more, desert-based environments, or just on the western part of America for just fun, different things for them to do too. So it kind of helps just with, we sent out an email blast and just reached out to as many teachers as we could, I found online, and we got a couple of responses. So that helped. It took a lot of time, but I had a lot of time, so.
Perfect. Well, thank you for answering, going through the questions. The next step, we're going to go into breakout rooms, but before we do that, we're going to put up a poll that's going to show up on your screen. The feedback is really helpful in terms of our planning for future conversations. This one, it seemed like it had a lot of traction, and so I don't know if it's the idea of having kind of technology insights or really what are people working with. I know from the SciTech Institute, it's something that's really salient and important to us in the community, is that we're hoping that a component of the upcoming festival in February will have a lot of virtual field trips. And so I'm hoping in the breakouts, you might write if your organization is interested to do a virtual field trip, possibly what type of support you might want. And obviously within Arizona's community, we have a lot of resident experts that can hopefully be part of this conversation. And so thank you for being here, and we really do appreciate that feedback. I mean, one thing, one person, Jim Knoll, commented about Facebook Live, and I'm kind of curious, this could go to the presenters or others in the group about successes doing Facebook Live as a technology for a live type event.
We've used it, and we've been using it more and more. I mean, the benefit obviously is you can link an event to people who are casually passing through your social media. And so it doesn't require the overt invitation RSVPing that a Zoom event has. And so when we have something that's really purely outbound, like when we've had a virtual commencement or virtual student orientation, or just like on campuses, is we've had presenters on campus. What we've been doing virtually is we've tried as much as possible to have a presenter come to campus and present, but there's no audience. And so, Facebook Live is a really great platform for that, because that way, we can point people to it, and then it just kind of builds off of that. And so, the technology's been pretty straightforward. We've had very few tech failures messing with that.
Sorry, because we really didn't know, when we would go outside and walk around and try to see as many animals as we could, our devices were getting too hot. So I don't know if, it's just the heat and things like that. That's it worse, but if anyone has any tips to just try to cool down your devices or keep them, carry an umbrella for shade or something, I don't know, but we like Facebook Lives.
All right, perfect. And just by, one thing maybe showing in the chat, how many of you are thinking, or how many of you have actually already done some type of virtual field trip? I know TGen, I see we have representatives from TGen. I know they've been doing some virtual field trips. And I see Karen from Midwestern. I think you guys might have been doing some of those. It'd be really interesting to see where people are coming from in the chat. And Janet, you guys have been doing tech for a long time from the telemedicine. I don't know if you had any extra insights to add just for the group from your point, because you've been doing this well before everybody was using the technology.
Well, everyone in Arizona has seen my ear like the magic school bus, right? And one thing that I've been able to do, and now is so much easier to do, is to take people on a virtual tour and to video conference. Like for part of Arizona SciTech Kickoffs, I've done virtual tours and how to do a virtual field trip. And I love everything that was said today about, having the technology tested in advance and having a backup plan, because that's where I live. And to work with chief CSOs, chief technology officers in the schools, and people who then can help people like us who like to do STEM outreach, makes a big difference. And not only with the chief technology officers, but there's a group that I work with in Alaska that actually teaches students to achieve a video conferencing certificate. So when they graduate from high school, they've got this great certification for being that guy who helps be the interface with the schools. And to be able to promote virtual field trips that way makes it a lot easier on both ends, whether you're the person producing the field trip or the school or club or group that's hosting it. So I think that's really been a great role of the programs that you've done such a great job putting together. And being able to continue this conversation, I think would be great, because now everybody wants to know how to do this. So to share best practices, it's a great time.
And I remember years ago, we did a virtual press release, and now I'm like, it's so much easier now since everybody's using it. So it sounds like Hope's got the breakouts ready to go. So transition over to Hope.
All right, so just thank you again to our speakers. We really, truly appreciate your time. We really, truly appreciate your insights and your help today. It was really great to hear all your tips and tricks, so kudos to you. And thank you to our moderators as we send you into the breakout rooms. I'm going to go ahead and do that first. So Douglas, room 1, Jana 2, Allison 3, Dr. J 4, Oliver 5, Emily 6, Beth 7, and Katie is 8. So I just dropped the link into the chat. We'll go ahead and send you there for about 15, 16 minutes to talk through those questions. And then we'll bring you all back and do a recap. So thank you again for being here. And here we go. You should get an invite on your screen now. Thank you all. We hope you had an amazing conversation in your breakout rooms. I know it's never long enough. That's always one thing people say. Can we have more time in the breakout rooms? So wonderful. Looks like we've got just a few more rooms. Little do they know, in 12 seconds they're going to be kicked out regardless. So that's the beauty of Zoom, right? All right, so let's see. Welcome back, welcome back. We hope you had a great conversation. I think everybody is back with us now. So what I'd love to do is just do a quick share out from each of, well, we'll pick 2 or 3 different rooms and maybe you could do a share out. So Douglas, do you want to do a share out about some of the things that you discussed in your breakout room?
You would have to ask me first, wouldn't you, Hope? Okay,
Sorry.
well, there were a lot of tremendous ideas that were shared. I will get them onto the sheet here, you know, but there was Sanae made with a YWCA suggested some Adobe Connect as a webinar tool that they're using to good effect. And I thought that was a pretty interesting observation. And of course, there are so many, it's hard to pick one.
I know, that is hard, right? It's like you're having these wonderful conversations and it's hard just to pick one thing to report out on. So thank you for being a moderator and getting those into the Google Sheet. So let's see, Allison, are you still with us? There she is. Do you want to do a quick share out?
Yeah, sure. Just a couple pieces of advice that I really liked. Perhaps inviting guest speakers to join you virtually. Maybe the word virtual field trip might scare people, but if you just say, hey, let's just spend 30 minutes connecting, we'd love to learn more about your career. I thought that was a good piece of advice. There was a collective challenge of being isolated to just Google Meets. There seems to be some difficulty there for different school districts, so some workarounds might be created, so that could be a great side conversation. And then, you know, trying to figure out, do we need a speakers forum? That way we have kind of a Rolodex of speakers that we can access. And then in terms of trying to help different industries and partners come up with a field trip, maybe we can help them and offer help in terms of filming that field trip or helping coordinate a college student that could film the field trip. So just offering support instead of just saying, hey, will you do this? It's more of a partnership. So those are just a couple of takeaways.
Oh, those are great, Allison. Yeah, I think that's something we've heard a lot about. One is the Google Meets and the challenges schools have with their platforms. And then also, how do you create partnerships for people? Because it does seem overwhelming. I mean, Jeremy just said it to Dave, right, earlier on. You know, hey, how did you do all that? Maybe we could partner for the festival. So I think that's really important. So thank you for sharing that with us. And then Jenna, do you want to be our last maybe here to round us out?
Sure. Yeah, we had a great group. We did run out of time, so we didn't get through all of the questions here, but we did a lot of just talking about kind of best practices. We had a mix of people who have been hosting virtually for a while and some who are just getting started or looking to get started soon. But we definitely focused a lot on, hands-on engagement, you know, keeping the students or the participants as engaged as possible, you know, trying to make sure that it is, you know, an easier environment for everyone to learn. So muting participants when they don't need to be talking, but then encouraging them to interact through body language or through the chat, asking them open-ended questions. Yeah, we had lots of really great ideas. And then we also talked about pre-recorded videos and, you know, how to make those a little bit more engaging as well. So lots of great share outs. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, that's wonderful, Jenna. Yeah, I think that's the trick, right? Is when it's like I used to be a classroom teacher. So when you want them to talk, you want them to talk. And when you don't, you don't. So doing that in a virtual environment can be even more challenging, especially given privacy issues, right? You can't force anybody to turn a camera on. And so how do you engage with them when you can't see them necessarily? So definitely some interesting challenges. So, well, I just want to again thank our amazing presenters today for being here and sharing all your amazing tips and tricks. You really are wonderful. And a special shout out also to our moderators who were fantastic in taking those great notes. So we'll be sending this out. All of the resources that you put in the chat, anything you put in the Google Doc, we'll be synthesizing that and aggregating it and make sure that comes out to you along with this video early next week. So feel free to share that. Feel free to share the invite to any upcoming ones with anybody you might know. So our next one will be September 17th, and it's going to be about funding informal education. And so corporate partners and industries, philanthropy, and grants. So really talking about how do we help fund informal education. So we hope that you'll join us for that. And with that, I just want to thank you all again for coming to this amazing event. And if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. We'll try to answer them, and I'll stay on for a few additional minutes. So thank you all for coming today. Oh, and Allison, how fun. What a little cutie.